Good morning, beautiful people of planet Earth. It's still the 1st of November 2024 and the time is 10:10 a.m. I've come back for a second video. I decided to break this up into pieces because I meandered all over the place on the last one. And I want to get down to the business of reading from the Healing Blanket. Chapter 4, which is titled The Heat. And once again, they've got a little thunderbird at the beginning of the story, which is the last chapter. It was an eagle. Delightful. Chapter 4, The Heat. Purify, for the spirit journey nears to be red blood, to be one. The love of the Creator is now gathering with his drum. Migizikwe. It took 2 days for the 4 women to prepare for the ceremony. Maple saplings, basswood bark and cedar had already been gathered. I wonder if maple saplings would smell sweet when they're burned, because maple syrup gets tapped from maple trees, and then it gets processed in, I think, what's called a sugar shack. But I wonder if it smells sweet, just out of curiosity. Someone can tell me in the comments, because I've never been to North America. Well, I haven't been to America at all. I haven't been to North America or Canada where the maple trees grow and they do the harvesting of maple syrup. So something I'm quite interested to see being done one day. I guess there's videos of it, but it'd be nice to see it in person. Anyway, wood had been brought to the circle of sage where Mukunzi remained tending the sacred fire. As Adrienne drove once more down to the river's edge, was it Mukunzi or Mukunzi? I decided it was Mukunzi, but Mukunzi sounds better somehow. I don't know why, just to my ear, but I might be wrong in my pronunciation. Mukunzi, I'm going to stick with that, split the wood and began erecting the lodge in the right way. The other 3 women were preparing the feast at Wabanungikwe's home for Wabanungikwe's daughter, Ngigikwe, meaning otter woman, had come to visit. I must empty my mind, open my ears, Adrienne thought as she walked along the rocky shoreline. And looking to the sky, watching the clouds, Adrienne remembered a teaching. Adrienne had guided Misqua Mikinakwe to Grandmother Cedar, who grew along the river. I love how they refer to natural habitats as grandmother and grandfather. It's by honouring the spirit of that life form. It's one thing I really love about Native American spirituality. Well, I guess Aboriginal spirituality and Māori spirituality, all Indigenous spiritualities, honouring the spirit and the life force of all that surrounds us, the trees and the sky and the air and the water, the rivers and the oceans and the mountains and the very land our feet touch. It's grounding and it's inclusive and it's honouring of all our ecosystem. I think it's why I'm so calm about a gigantic fucking python being my almost intimate neighbour. He's not allowed in the house though. That's a bridge too far. But I've been very accepting of this creature hanging around my back door, near my back door. Not like me, people of Earth. So, as my friend Ricky pointed out, she's witnessed me go through some kind of transformation and metamorphosis, and perhaps I'm becoming more pagan than I've ever been before. If you ever see me with that python wrapped around my shoulders and acting like a true pet, freak out, because it means I will have totally transformed into a woman at peace even with serpentine creatures. I have held a carpet snake draped over my shoulders before when I first came to Australia. Actually, I went to don't think Australia Zoo was happening then, not sure, but some kind of place where you go and they showcase the snakes, and I was the last person to get to hold that carpet python, and it was tired and pissed off, and so they draped it around my shoulders and it started hissing at me. And I could feel in its energy that it was just done. Don't want to be hung off humans anymore today. So, but the weight of it was incredible, very powerful creatures. And I've never forgotten it wrapped its bottom half and its tail around my waist. And I looked around my shoulder because I actually thought my then husband, had his arm around my waist, but he was not a particularly affectionate person. He really wasn't. It's a fucking dead shit. But anyway, so it was rare for him to put his arm around me, especially even out in public. I was always treated like some kind of accessory, or he used to sometimes jokingly refer to me as baggage, right? This is how defunct he was. But anyway, I looked around in surprise because I thought he'd put his arm around my waist, and then I realised the snake had its arm around my waist, and I thought, I'm okay with that, the pressure of it hugging into me, and somehow it felt comforting and loving and like a real embrace when someone puts their arm around you. It's sweet. I never forgot that experience actually. But it started hissing quite a bit, so I said to the caretaker, can you please take it back, it's distressed. And they nodded, said, yes it is distressed now. So I picked up on its emotions quite well. Well, Mama T, she's attuned to the multiverse, what can I say? That's why I'm always in some kind of neurotic fog, because sometimes I pick up too much energies and it's too much for my nervous system. But anyway, Adrienne had guided Misqua Mikinakwe, because bear in mind Misqua Mikinakwe is blind, to Grandmother Cedar, who grew along the river. Out of this cliffed shoreline, the elder had said, a sister grows, teaching, telling, showing, helping us, huh? Misqua Mikinakwe's graceful hand felt the laced branches of her sister. Have you ever thought, white person like me, that a tree could be your sister? When you lie under the tree in the hammock, like I often do in summer, you can talk to the tree, which shows you, it doesn't talk to you in, obviously not in English words, but it talks to you in images. I've had much guidance gifted to me by that golden rain tree next to my house. It's a beautiful tree, and it actually likes it when I commune with it. But I haven't done that, must be about 12 months. Probably wouldn't hurt to get out there again, am I right? Got me through the COVID epoch too. What shall I do, tree? I've been distressed thinking about our whole species being poisoned, literally poisoned. And the tree would just smile, not a smile like a human smile, but an energy of great peace and joy. And it would just say, you do what we trees do. What is that? I would ask. Just be, one day at a time, through all 4 seasons. Just keep breathing, just keep being, and, if and when necessary, keep fighting for our earth, which I did continue to do, advocating vociferously on social media and on YouTube, for which I was often shadow banned, which was an evil beyond all mortal ken. But here we are. We've come through it, my beautiful souls, my humans, my people of earth. Not unscathed, and many have died and many more have adverse reactions, and our children's fertility has been interfered with. That is the worst of all. But we're coming through it. We will evolve, we will transform, we will reclaim our earth. Those of you who watch my channel know what I'm putting down. I'm asking you to give up on your white bread, middle class, patriarchal religions that served no good but to poison us all, and reclaim the ancient ways, the Native American ways, the indigenous ways across this planet. Even white people were in certain countries indigenous. We've lost all our knowledge. We've lost all our connection to our earth. This was how this weaponization was gotten away with. So people weren't connected anymore. They just followed orders, went along with the narrative, just because it was easier to not question, not fight, to comply. And as a survivor, a 2nd generation survivor of the Holocaust, I know the price that was paid for not fighting back. And, well, they didn't have a lot of choice but to comply. It was an intense machinery of hate. But we know the price that was paid, 1933 to 1945. So when this came, I was like, I'm not paying that price. That price shall not be paid again. And I begged you all to maintain your body autonomy. I fought on every vector of social media. Do not comply. So now we have to heal our bodies, minds, spirits, souls, and reclaim our connection to our true and only mother and true and only spirituality. The planet we as souls were sent to live in this reality. Gaia, Earth, Sophia, I guess. Not that I'm into Gnosticism, it's too dark and depressing too. But be of the earth and work in co-creation with the earth, and together we will heal. We will push back this alien, anti-humanist, sick, perverted invasion, and we will bring back humanity's next blossoming, I guess. It's what I want to see. I want to see us all blossom like I am, because I fought so damned hard, and we can't give up. Not now, not ever. So that's my philosophy on where we are at in the current point in time in the space-time continuum of planet Earth. Don't give up. Keep hope alive. Keep love alive. Protect your peace and our children for as long as we can, because they're the future, beloved ones. Miskwa Mikanakwe's graceful hand felt the laced branches of her sister. She lifted them to her nose, smelt the sweet scent, and slowly let the branches relax into their position. Then, reaching in her medicine bag, she had pulled out a sema tobacco. The elder lifted her closed hand to Sky Father, and her lips offered whispered words before she let the tobacco fall silently onto the earth. Never take without giving something back, the elder had said. Respect and honour the spirits of the earth. Adrienne took out her tobacco and offered her own gratitude for the gathering she would now do, for the healing that was taking place, for the circle of helping that was gifted her for the day. I actually gave Carpet Python a bowl of milk. I don't know if he'll drink it or she'll drink it, but I put it out there and kind of pushed it with a long pole a bit closer to it because I was too scared to walk right up to it and dump it in front of its face. But that's my offering. Maybe it'll drink the milk and go back to the forest, or maybe I've encouraged it to hang around even more, but my soul wanted to give it milk, and that's my offering, babies. She walked over the rocky shoreline for an hour, looking for the right size and shape rocks. Mishumi Sug would be heated for the lodge. Mishumi Sug is plural for Mishumis, grandfathers. Mishumi Sug would be heated for the lodge. It was hard to find one without a crack beginning, heavy enough to hold the heat. She moved along, looking, searching, wondering if she would find grandfathers here. As she turned a corner along the river path, hundreds of butterflies flitted from their resting place, circling her, showering her with their flight, carrying elder words. Grandfather will find you. You do not find him, but you must listen with your heart. Like a child drawn wordlessly to a certain view, Mishumis rocks called easily to her. They waited, round, heavy, dark. It was hard work gathering Mishumi Sug. She found a sema down in each indentation where the rock had rested. She put a sema down to each indentation where the rock had rested, then carried each one back to her jeep, one by one. Her back soon ached with the lifting. Her hands began to blend into the roughness of the rocks she carried, erasing the line between hand and rock. Her fingers bled and her body sweat, experiencing Mishumis's weight. It was all preparation for the evening ceremony. 2 hours later, Adrienne had gathered 28 Mishumi Sug, and, because it's spelled S-A-G but pronounced S-U-G. I don't know why. I'm not from the Ojibwe tribe. I'm just obeying directions. And drove back to Wabinungikwe's house. Away from the river, her mind filled back up with thoughts of Chinudin. She knew Miskwa Mikinakwe would be there and wondered what else she knew. Adrienne pulled the red rock out of her medicine bag, held it tightly as she drove back to Wabinungikwe's home. Makunsi had told her to keep the stone, that she was to bring it with her to the ceremony, that Chinudin had had a vision, that she would know what to do But then Makunzi fell silent, praying and preparing for lodge. Chinorden, have you seen him? She could barely wait to enter the tiny house to ask the elder sitting at the window. The question had been like an ember inside her heart on the car ride over. Miskwa Mikinakwe sat in a chair. Her face was still, listening. My nephew stopped by, yes. Did you know when I came that he was here? I did not say I had not seen him. I only asked if you knew where he was. The woman began to hum, her body rocking slightly. You came to see me, huh? And so no answers came from the one whom Adrienne had driven hundreds of miles to see. Yet thoughts of Chinorden, like gusts of wind, would not leave her, so Adrienne left early and found Makunz by the fire. She walked up to his shadow, ready to hand him tobacco. There would be time before the ceremony, time enough to learn. Hey, 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 waya, hey, ha. White Buck hit the small drum with the beat of a warrior, his voice leading. 7 men around the fire joined the warrior's song, one voice blending with another, lifting into the darkening sky, thunder beings promising more music that night. Chinorden's eyes were closed, but he felt the circle, the song growing as if into a forest. Way ya hey. Past leaned into the present, heavy with memories and strong winds. Spirit journeyed, remembering how it had been. The men had remained at the tracks, some joining, some leaving, but always White Buck, Chinorden, and the white man had remained. Chinorden had watched the white man for the last 2 days. He was quiet, mostly listened. Hey, 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 waya, hey, ha. The second push-up began, the sound full, rich, pulsating with spirit sound, with spirit voices. Chinorden had said nothing. He had waited. Then, alone with this man and White Buck, Chinorden finally asked, Who are you? Hey, 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 waya, hey, ha. Past, present, and future became one, the song circling, following the spiralling smoke. Douglas, he had answered, offering his hand in greeting. And you? I am Chinorden, strong wind. The white man with blonde hair had looked deeply at the red man at his side. Adrienne's, are you? How do you know Adrienne? There was something familiar about this man, something Chinorden should know. I am the one she was working with on the article. I'm sorry, I heard what happened. Lightning cracked open the dark sky, impersonating sun for a moment. Way ya hey. He is the one I told you about, White Buck had said. He is the one who told us. Chinorden looked at Douglas with growing respect. What do you know about this? Douglas opened the map he had brought with him. See this? The fire gave enough light to see the state's shape. Then his finger had traced south to north. This is the route. The train goes through these towns. These are the places in which the tracks are defective. Douglas pointed on the map to the places that had X's marked. That we know about. Thunder drums struck and the voices grew, filled with new power. An eagle whistle blew and the song reached the spirits. Hey, 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 way-ah, hey-ha. Chinudin's eyebrows lifted, understanding. He nodded, then reached in his medicine bag and handed the man some tobacco. Miigwech, brother, you are very brave. Way-ah, hey. Voices pulled, then reached, lifting, spiraling, soaring. Hey-ya, ha, ha. The song ended and the men fell silent. Now only fire spoke into the silence, for words could not go where they had been, and the 7 warriors waited for the others that would surely come, waited for the thunder beings to join, waited for the war, waited for the peace. You must go this way around the lodge, Wabi Nungikwe whispered to her as they prepared to enter the lodge. Adrian stopped, watched Wabi Nungikwe, and followed around the fire in the same way. But now she was getting used to this woman's way. Wabi Nungikwe corrected. She was clear and honest. Miigwech, Adrian whispered back. I remind you that that means thank you. The 3 women in simple cotton dresses stood waiting, barefoot, as Wabi Nungikwe gathered the sacred items. Put your prayer ties here. Wabi Nungikwe walked over to the crescent-shaped altar that bridged the distance between the fire and the lodge and carefully hung her own prayers. If you have... Oh dear goddess. Let me just fix this, otherwise we'll get cut off. Right. If you have anything you want blessed, place it here on the blanket. Next to the altar lay the ceremonial pipe, instruments, and other bundles. Adrian watched carefully as each woman carried their red prayer ties, aware not to cross the line, and hung their prayers on the stick that rested between 2 forked posts. She touched the light string of prayers draped between her hands and looked over to Mukunzi tending the fire. Pardon me. It is time to heal, she could almost hear Chinudin say. Time to let go. She walked up to the altar, thinking of the truth Mukunzi had just told her. They had talked at the fire alone. There had been time enough to learn. Then, as though carrying a sleeping baby, she slowly hung her prayers, believing, wavering, trusting, touching the red prayers for the last time, letting go. She reached into her pocket, then placed the red stone on the blue and yellow blanket. It is time to heal, she thought. It is time to join the healing circle. Just as silently, she returned to her place around the edge of the fire. Mukunzi stood on the periphery. 3 women waited with towels in hand. Wabi Nungikwe lined the women up in the order she wanted them to enter. Deep quiet filled the sacred circle. Obviously Tanya wasn't there. Miskwa Mikinakwe blew the shrill eagle bone whistle, and the women honoured the full directions. The ceremony had begun. "All my relatives," Adrian said as she crawled into the rounded lodge, moving clockwise around its edges, stopping when she reached the door once more. The cedar welcomed her as she moved through the dark lodge, remembering. Miskwa Mikinakwe crawled in next, feeling her way, knowing without seeing. Nigigikwe crawled in, following the elder. "There," Nigigikwe said, and Miskwa Mikinakwe stopped directly across from the door. Nigigikwe sat next to the elder. Finally, Wabanungikwe entered and sat at the inside of the door, ready to connect one world to the next. Makuntz passed in the instruments first. "Here, you take this." Miskwa Mikinakwe held a turtle shell shaker towards Adrian, then shook it. "Me? Why not you?" Adrian reached for the blanket, rattling as she brought it to her. "Sorry." Adrian reached for the shaker, rattling as she brought it to her. Mama T's drifting. Uh-oh. I'm really tired, can you tell? I'll have to have a nap before my epic dance tonight, am I right? The elder's hand reached out and touched Adrian's. In her hand was the stone, her daughter's water stone. The elder had brought it into the lodge for healing. Adrian solemnly watched as Nigigikwe accepted a drum and Wabinungikwe another shaker. Adrian held the shaker in her right hand, the stone in her left. Light from the fire reached in, filling in the rounded spaces. Adrian listened as a pitchfork outside rummaged through the hot coals to find the first mishumis. "Bonjour, mishumis," the women echoed as the red-hot grandfather entered the lodge. "Bonjour," Adrian echoed quietly. Wabanungikwe took the deer antlers and with great strength lifted Mushumis into the pit. When 7 had been brought in and placed in the right way, the women welcomed the ancestral spirits of each Mushumis. Can you see me emanating? Like my soul, my heart is just as if I was there, as if I were Native American. It's just very strange since clearly I'm not, but my soul is finding such recognition and joy in this sharing of the ceremony. It's as if it was something I have lived before and that was important to me. It's wondrous, actually quite wondrous. Other medicine followed, and finally the pipe was passed in. The medicine had been put down, and Makunzi pulled the flap down over the lodge door. Adrian, now in complete darkness, except for the glow of the Mushumisug, listened as Makunzi walked around the outside of the lodge, tucking in the tarp and blankets that covered the frame, muffling the outside sounds, making sure no light could enter. And instantly the darkness crept into her, reminding her of the water womb. Words, songs, prayers, darkness. Miskwa Mikinakwe poured medicine water on the rocks, and suddenly steam hit the woman who would cry in the darkness, blanketing her within this womb. The first round had begun. Makunsi sat at the edge of the fire in the circle, the fire rippling like windy fingers. Women's voices, only muffled by the blankets, sang good traditional songs, soothing his spirit. Ngigi Kwae's clear, high voice lifted the lodge, it seemed. He had heard her before, knew her voice well. Now, as he added his tobacco to the fire, he waited for the women's signal. This ceremony had been a gift to him, a chance to heal as well. The man with 2 braids knew this was where he was to be, where he was needed. He would be the keeper of the fire this night, while they, the keepers of the water. Balance, harmony, and balance. He placed his prayers on the fire. He was blessed to be on the periphery, blessed to assist in this way. Shakers filled in the spaces and the drum connected to his heart. Earlier that day, for 3 hours, he had encouraged the flame to heat the rocks that had been stacked beneath the firewood, preparing for the ceremony. For 3 hours he had thought of her. Then Adrienne had come early. She had sat next to him by the hot fire, had waited for this evening ceremony, had talked and listened to him, had held the red stone. There is something in your voice, she had said. I know the sound. Ahu, ow, ahu, muffled cries brought him back. The man with the 2 braids quickly got up and lifted the blanket from the eastern door. Steam escaped like a giant serpent, curling and lifting into the night sky. Then, taking the pitchfork that rested on the pine, he reached into the fire, gathering the next mishumas. He shook the fork gently, letting the embers fall away so that only hot mishumas rested on the prongs. And in this way, he carried 7 more mishumasug into the door of healing. 3 men sat at a bar, becoming brave. The air reeked with smoke, with booze, with sweat. Oh, I hate that stink. Use deodorant, people, for the love of all the gods. Stifled music saturated any silence, distracted the inactivity that filled the small bar. I haven't worked for 3 days now, one man said. He reached over the counter, found some matches and lit a cigarette. He inhaled deeply, quickly, then relaxed into his smoking. Fucking Indians. Who do they think they are, stopping the railroad, smoking them pipes? The man with the plaid shirt and brown beard leaned back on the stool, looking up at the cracked ceiling, his little fingernail cleaning the crack between his 2 front teeth. The man with the cigarette thought of his wife, the bills, the heat. Another swallowed the last of his beer, slammed the bottle down and burped. What do you say we teach them boys a lesson? Agreement clanged like empty beer bottles. The sweaty men left the bar, piled into a hot, sticky car, and headed for the river. At the tracks, Sky Father had begun to rain, water spirits kissing the hot fire with its cool presence. In the distance, lightning flashed, thunder drums roared, while quiet talk circled the fire of 7 men. "Douglas, do you know?" the tall man asked. He stuck, then pushed the last pointed sapling into the ground, a few feet away from the fire, preparing the frame for the fire cover. "The governor's office, I believe," he answered. Men tied the tops of the saplings together to form a dome, then tied tiers to the sides to make the frame strong. "That's what I thought. It's all about money," said another. "Can't stop the railroad, no matter what." "I wonder if he'd drink the water," said another. "Give it to his children." The tall one handed the men the sides of the tarp with the hole on top. Soon the sacred fire was covered and the rain hit the canvas like little drums, slow at first, then faster as the talk continued. Chinurdin listened to the men speak, his mind dovetailing with their words and his own thoughts, the drumming rain and the fire's hypnotic power. He helped tie down the tarp so the fire was protected. Still, he did not speak. He needed to listen. There was anger here, but also hope. He sat down on the ground on the outside of the tarp, getting wet. Douglas sat down next to him, low enough to look into the fire. There is so much the public does not know. He looked at Chinurdin's eyes, eyes of a warrior ready to protect. The tracks are unsafe in many towns. A derailment would mean disaster to the people who live there, to Earth, to all of us. "Can't you do something working there?" White Buck asked as he placed another dry log onto the fire. Douglas looked at White Buck as he tenderly cared for the embers on the edge of the fire with a stick, coaxing them in to join the heat of the fire. Then the white man turned to all who circled the fire. "I've tried. First, I tried talking to my superiors, but they just kept passing the buck. Finally, I called the DNR, the EPA, you name it. Still, there were excuses. No one wants to take responsibility to change things." White Buck walked around the fire's directions, exited the tarped circle, then walked over to Douglas. "You agree then? You're sure you want to stay?" "I know now that I can't do anything on my own." Finally, Chinurdin spoke. "One voice is like one raindrop." The men fell silent, listening to the rain coming down faster and faster, hitting the canvas with intensity. His voice grew louder, stronger. But together there is power. We need to come together. It is time, indeed. The tall man stood. "I agree. When the people know, they will begin to join this cause. We need to let them know." "Is she coming?" White Buck asked, now looking at Chinurdin. "She'll come," Chinurdin answered, immediately certain. Suddenly, headlights barged in, interrupting, challenging the rhythmic sound of the rain, the cleansing of the earth. The car stopped, doors slammed, and laughing drunken men swaggered toward the fire. Spears of night rain dove in front of the car's headlights, while country music played from the still, open door. Yet the circle of men didn't move, only casually looked up. Some wondered what would happen. Others knew. They had been here before, the boat landings, the protests. Chinuden knew. The scar on his forehead reminded him from time to time. But still, he sat by the fire and waited. "Hey you!" one of the men yelled, his cigarette a little red glow in the darkness. "Let the fire go out. It's raining, for Christ's sake." No one moved. No one answered. "Ain't you gonna answer us? Or can't you speak?" a man with a beard shouted out. The three men stopped 10 feet away. The man with the plaid shirt picked up a rock from the ground, tossed it up, then caught it. "Why don't you go back home? This isn't your fight," White Buck finally spoke. "Sure as hell ain't your fight," the first one spoke once more and threw down his cigarette. "You Injuns just causing a whole hell of a lot of problems." "Pete, go home." Douglas stepped forward from behind the shadow of the lodge's canvas. "What the?" The plaid man threw the rock down, landing a few feet away from Tug Douglas's feet. "What are you? An Injun lover? I'll be damned." He nudged the other two men, said something under his breath, and the three men turned to leave. But as they reached their headlights, the bearded one turned and half mumbled, half yelled, "Your fire will go out. You wait." That fire must never go out. White woman, Jew, witch, shaman, psychedelic dreamer, hobbit, says so, that's why. Never let your cultural fires burn out because of some dead shit, dumbass, lackluster, ignorant, racist white man tells you to. Fuck them. Adrienne bent over in the lodge, her face close to the earth, breathing there, living there. The burning bush that could not be consumed by God's light. I'm wondering where that comes from. Never ever cede your light or your inner fire to anyone, people of earth. Adrienne bent over in the lodge, her face close to the earth, breathing there, living there. The steam opened every last pore, opened every last need, coaxing, pulling, kneading the poisons and pain out of her. Her heart beat fast, her breath quickened. I have all these spirits gathering behind me, and it's like a whole tribe of them. I don't know how many, 5, 6, 7, all gathering behind my shebang, and they're laughing. They're laughing at this little white woman, but I'm okay with that because it's true. Women like me were burned at stakes only a few hundred years ago, subject to other men's hate and other men's fires. But never ever let your light be diminished by any other soul. Her heart beat fast, Her breath quickened. Gradually, waves of nausea overtook her, moved through her, demanding attention, needing to come out. She half lay, half sat on the cedar boughs that she herself had prepared, the darkness covering her, hearing her, wanting her. The woman did not know if she could stay, thought she would need to leave the lodge, thought the sickness could not wait, thought she was powerless. You need to back off a little bit. You're giving me nausea too, my beloved ones. Then her heart begged the Creator for strength, begged for healing in the silent darkness. Awe, awe, Māori. Her mind begged for water, for earth, for sky, begging and crying, rocking, wanting, dying, begging. For 3 hours, for 4 hours. Here they have an explanation. A round consists of 4 doors, each with a separate purpose. Mushumi sug are added at each door. For 3 hours, for 4 doors, with 28 mushumi sug in 7 directions, she fought. Languid, she trudged against the heat, the searing heat of the lodge. She fought with short breaths, closed eyes and bowed head. Fought against the truth, the knowledge of her daughter's death dripping off her. She fought for Chinudam, wanting him, needing him, loving him. Oh, bless. She fought for her heritage, who she was, is, and will be. She fought for her love, for her life, fought until the fight was over, fought until she was over. Holding the stone, rocking back and forth, she recognized her grandmother's comfort appearing from her daughter's water stone. Then she learned how to pray. Laying her head on Mother Earth, she heard the voices of her sisters circling her, felt the flutter of the wings touching her, the medicine scent entering her. She listened finally to her heart. Hearing the song of her ancestors, she let go. Letting go of it all, she prayed for the people, for the red and the white, the black and the yellow. She prayed. Lifting her head, she surrendered to death, opened to life. And she prayed. Accepting the pain, she began to trust. Straightening her back, she joined the future, past and present. And she prayed, welcoming the heat, the medicine steam. She prayed for the healing, for the earth, for her relatives, for the rooted, the winged and the finned, for the crawlers, the creepers and the shelled, the 2-leggeds, the 4-leggeds. She prayed. Faith in herself, faith in the Creator, began to flow into the empty places. Breathing in the medicine, she prayed for the ocean and each tiny raindrop that now comforted the women inside the lodge. She prayed for the separated minerals and the mountain tops, for the sky the clouds, the sun, and the moon. And in this way the woman prayed for the man, the child, and herself. Then the door opened. "Ah ye!" Adrienne cried, crawling out of the lodge. Rain touched her face, kissing her, remembering her. She breathed the breath of life, good, long, deep breaths, filling her, completing her. She lay down on the precious earth, touching her, loving her. The invisible and the visible now blended, and she knew that life was sacred. I was taken in mind down deep into Mother Earth. I could hear her strength, and hear her depth, and hear her darkness and aloneness. At times I could hear her aches and cries for help. Neo Gishik Gu Ikwe. And thus concludes chapter 4. Up to chapter 5. Four more chapters. And then there's a part 2, which is mainly just poetry. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, people of Earth. Mama's weird kind of spiritual unfoldment into that story. It's a bit unusual what I'm doing. Don't know why or how I'm doing it, but as always, the Tanya, Mama T, Psychedelic Dreamer, Miss 5, has to go with the flow and where her spirit leads her, or indeed where her guardian spirits guide and protect her on her walk. So it is what it is, people of Earth. I'm a very strange, eccentric character, and I'm getting ever more stranger and eccentric, but I spoke to my psychiatrist on Wednesday. He said, "You're not mad, Tanya, you're just highly attuned." Isn't he lovely? Comforts me. He knows I fear madness more than anything, even more than death. Madness, true madness, is a terrible, terrible thing, because you're stigmatized and marginalized and alienated and cut off from your people, your family, your community, your society. And the divine madness is the very thing that might actually save us all. Deify, own your own inner God and or goddess. Blessed be, people of Earth. Bye for now.